So I'm really excited to be here with Tommy Stinson today. Tommy, how are you?
Doing good, thank you.
Yeah. So I think the first question I want to ask you is this actually your home behind you? Because you tour so much, it doesn't seem like you would have a place to kind of lay your head on a regular basis.
This is a funny room in my what is my home at the moment. Yes, with my
And
with my funny art on the walls.
so I want to start out, I guess at the you know oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I I guess I want to start out at the very beginning for you. When did you first decide that that music was what you wanted to do?
It was pretty much after my brother bribed me to learn how to play bass a little bit before I figured it out. I mean, really, I was so young when he showed me how to play. It hurt my fingers at first, and after a few bribes of candy and Coca Cola, that kind of crap, Um, I kind of endured it. I think it was really after the first gig, I think, of us playing, like even as just dog breath or whatever, it just was like, oh, people like what we're doing. Really? This is cool, and like, um, not for nothing for the oddball kids that we all were and grew up as. It was something. It was something to have, to grasp onto something that we felt, you could kind of do, but also it was kind of maybe your place, kind of
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
So for people that don't know, you joined your brother's band, what eventually would transform into the Replacements when you were 14, is that right? Or is it 12? Which one was it? I think I've heard both.
It was more like 12. Like I learned how to play the bass when I was like 11. We started playing keggers and stuff when I was, pretty soon after that. Really, not long after that, in fact. So replacements fell into that right around, 13 or so.
Yeah. So I read somewhere where that in those early days you would have to sit in the kitchen and wait for the band because of it being a bar. You would have to sit in the kitchen and wait for the band to go on. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there was some tricky elements. Yeah, like I couldn't be loitering about, in the bar areas and stuff like that. They kept having me wait in the kitchen, and there was, wasn't every place, but it was for the most part. It was, you know, in Minneapolis anyway. Because I was so young. It wasn't like I
Yeah.
could blend at that age.
So I was talking.
I was able to blend a little later.
Let me name
Yeah.
drop here for just a second. So a couple weeks ago, I did an interview with Greg Norton, and I was asking him about what Minneapolis was like at that time for him and Husker Du. What was Minneapolis like for you at that period? What was that scene like?
Well, when I look back on it, I look back on it very fondly. I mean, it was a really vibrant scene with a lot of different things going on in it. I mean, the Husker Du, they had sort of the hardcore thing going. We had the fast rock and roll thing that kind of people kind of equated with maybe punk rock leanings or whatever. And we had a band that we played a lot of shows with, the Suburbs, who were kind of a dance band, really. But they were kind of a little more edgy than your average dance band of that era, I suppose. And then everyone in between, I mean, we always had Prince as our, he was out there. We didn't really hang out with him or anything like that because he was, beyond us. But the whole scene, for the diversity that it had, would always get together and hang out at certain places after the shows. A lot of times it was Lori Barbera's house, called the big house. It was kind of this big house in South Minneapolis that we had like parties at and stuff like after the shows and that. And that got to be kind of a meeting ground for all the different bands that would hang out together from all the different backgrounds included. It was just sort of um, truly diverse in that regard. And looking back on it like that, I feel like I think the Replacements might have come across a couple other places maybe similar in its diversity or its musical scene per se, but really Minneapolis, kind of was the pinnacle at that era, and I think that's why it's gotten so much acclaim over the years. Whether you're Who's Could Do, the Replacements, or even the Suburbs, you know, Prince, of course.
In some of the books that have come out since in the last few years, there was kind of almost this intimation from other bands that you guys didn't play nice with other bands. Do you think that's accurate, or do you think that's kind of overblown?
We weren't, I don't. We were never really jerks to other bands. We were just kind of. We didn't fit in with any of the other bands, and I don't think we. I mean, we hung out and probably drank with all the ones that would hang out and drink with us and all that kind of thing. But I don't really know if that really fits us per se. We kind of had our own thing and we're kind of stuck in it. Like we didn't really, we didn't play well with others. But it wasn't like we were like we had like we had some sort of a thing about it in a way. I don't know. It's kind of hard to kind of imagine that being a thing for us, but um, for the odd ducks out, we kind of stuck to our own,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways in that regard.
So I don't want to like loiter on the replacements for like the whole time that we're together, but talk about it. But how often does somebody come up to you and say, "Oh my God, how much you mean to me in my life? How much is your music has meant to me in um, over the years?" I mean, do you get that daily? Do you get it weekly? Do you get it monthly?
I get it a lot more often nowadays, and I think and it's coming in waves and different things. Like I get adults that come up to me and say, how important it meant to them. I have there's a lot of transgender people that I meet and come across all the time that androgynous changed their life, and there's a lot of things about what we did, and the songs that Paul wrote, in a certain way that really resonate with people still, and strangely still in a way. I mean, we're not selling millions of records per se, but I'm out there a lot, and I see I'm on, the younger generation is already like mom and dad bring them to the shows, or brought them to the shows before, and now they're coming out on their own and checking out what's going on and stuff. And it's somewhat strange to me in a way, because um, I'm not sure how to deal with it sometimes. But all things considered, I kind of it's lucky me, to have a following like that. That's really still that's evolving and growing and that kind of thing.
Well, it's interesting when when lists or which is I don't get me started about what I think about lists, but it's interesting how often you guys pop up on a list. I mean, I realize that that doesn't pay the bills for you. That doesn't for you, it probably doesn't mean a whole lot. But a couple years ago, your Bob made it to the list of the 200 greatest guitarists in classic rock history, according to Rolling Stone. I think Spin Magazine put out a thing just recently that said of the 40 most influential or the best bands for the last 40 years. And while you guys only put out a couple albums in the last 40 years, most of your stuff was before that. Uh, you were 34 in that list. I mean, is some sort of gratification in that, or is that just like, that's whatever?
No, I'm totally grateful for it. And again, it's um, it means something to people. And the one thing, the takeaway for me, um, is that it kind of makes me feel like um, I'm not alone in this. I mean, what we do and what the replacements have done is the same thing that inspired us to do it in the first place, which is being that kind of musical fan, and music was that important to us. To me, it still is. Whether uh, I live and breathe it, and I have since I got that the bug. And so when I'm out there, I'm meeting people that it means something to. It's resonating because they got that bug, either as music lovers or players. And so it feels like it's important. I mean, not like I'm walking around thinking I'm important, any of that kind of crap, but it's like, yeah, it's validating on the one hand, but it's also it's helping me, it helps people. It's a thing, you know. And
You know,
luckily, what we've been able to do for so long.
it's I can tell you for sure my life changed when I heard the Replacements. That is that's a fact for me. Is that
Cool. Well,
I
hopefully in
love
a good
music.
way.
Oh, it did. I mean, a good way because I felt like somebody understood. You know, I mean, I think that's it. I think that the I've got a friend here at the station who's a big Radiohead fan. He's not a Replacements fan. Yeah, I think people either get the Replacements or they don't.
Yeah,
And I think,
yeah,
and so I ran into a guy when we were doing a thing at a record store, and the guy was asking me about the last reissue, the Let It Be reissue, and I said it was good, and my friend kept joking with me. He goes, "So you guys look at each other and go, so you're a Replacements fan? Well, fuck you." Is that what you guys replacement fans do to each other? And I said, no. I mean, it's just we get it, and we're happy that we get it, and we don't think that makes us special, but it's nice. You feel like somebody out there got you. I
yeah,
mean, that's probably
yeah,
a burden. That's probably a burden you don't want to carry, but for a 60-year-old guy to tell you, "Oh, you really get me, man," but it's you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It,
yeah, yeah. And that's the whole thing. I mean, outside of the commerce and the fame of it all, there is an intrinsic thing that I think is the connecting part of this. And that is the art form. And I don't want to sound like a fucking all heady about this, but there is an intrinsic thing that the music and what it inspires in you and what it does to help you get through shit, whatever it is important. And some people have it more importantly than others because we're of a different, mental makeup, or we just are different. We're just different people than someone else, than others out there. And so, music is a kind of our driving force in a lot of ways. And so to have, to be living that life, but also people that I play to, a lot of them are having that too on the other side. And we're all in the same boat together because it's important to us. Like if you were an artist that was a painter, other artists would probably be important to you, the Picassos and things like that, and what we consider our favorite, artists of the day. I mean, it's important stuff. And, um, it's not just a money making scheme, or, some kind of self gratification fucking mechanism. It's here to, um, it's a real, uh, a a real art form that has real import, I think.
I read somewhere where you said that you were really disinterested in the whole music business itself. That you were more interested, just making music and doing the shows and connecting with people. When did that hit you? When did that first you start to feel that?
you know, Funny you should say that. Um, the music business has always been a pain in the ass. We weren't good at it, never been good at it, still ain't good at it. Um, because it requires another element that just doesn't come natural to me. And I think I kind of speak for some of the other people I know, even other members of the Replacements. That part of the thing does not come easy to some of us because um, it's not part of what we're here for. The glad handing and the thing, like I can put it very succinctly to you, in that bands like REM were better at playing the game than we were. Hence, they went on to do big things. They knew how to really probably just talk to people. Is probably how they were able to, you know. uh, work with a record company and figure out how do we make the most of this and make money, do the whole thing. We just weren't good at it. Still ain't good at it, to be frank. But because it has nothing to do with what my my goal here, or my objective is here, is to make money, even really be famous. And I guess that was kind of the problem we always had. We didn't really give a fuck about being famous or making money. I think we were just surviving. I think we found something that worked for us in a way that, beat a day job in a way, but also was just, um, sort of an escape from what adulthood really is. Who
Yeah.
knows? Um, but yeah, I don't. the business part of it has never come good for us in any way. Still not.
So it,
If
you're
I hope I answered the question there. I'm not
well,
sure.
no, you did. No, no, I think I get it. I do. I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's funny because again, I talked to somebody yesterday. I said exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
Said, just the goal was never for us to be big or famous, and we achieved that goal. We didn't become big or famous, and
yeah,
and we didn't get rich, and we're still not rich today. So,
yeah.
but I'm more interested in that than I'm interested in. I'd be far more interested in speaking to you than I would be to speaking to like Mick Jagger or Keith Richards or somebody like that because I, that's just not real to me, and I think that's why I'm attracted to your music, and that's why I'm attracted, still am, to the Replacements.
Mm.
So, but I was going to ask you too. I mean, it seems like now you're kind of for lack of a better term, you're last man standing with the Replacements because Chris is a painter and does that now and doesn't have much interest. And is your relationship with Paul strictly as a business partner in the Replacements?
You know, I don't know if you'd call it that. We just kind of go our own ways. Not for nothing. I think we kind of overstayed our welcome with that last reunion or whatever, and probably just left a little bad taste in each of our mouths. But um, you know, that's a whatever. It doesn't really matter. Chris and I, we talk. We exchange emails and chat once in a while, more often than me and Paul even. But um, he moved on and did other things that were interesting to him, that were more important to him in a way, and I think he's done really well with that. And that's, I couldn't be more proud of him and more happy for him. Uh, and so, you know, all's good on that.
Well, let me ask you this, and you can not answer if you don't want to. Is Paul a hard person to be around?
Not really. You know, I guess we can all have our moments, I suppose. But again, I think, you know, what made the replacements work for him to a point, I think, was that it helped be Paul and gave him a purpose or whatever, that now he doesn't need that to be Paul, and he's on his own, seemingly doing, being happy, doing his whatever it is he's doing out there in the world, and having his life go on, without sitting here, going on about it.
So after the Replacements were done, one of the first things you did was Bash and Pop, which Saturday Night's Killing Me is, I love that record still. It's
Hey,
one of my favorites. I love that record.
thank you.
Um, and I know over the years you've kind of gotten back together and done different stuff with Bash and Pop. You worked in Perfect. I think most people probably know that you spent some time in Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
What was the end of that like for you? I mean, did you see it coming, or was it just out of the blue, um, or was it just an email from a from an attorney, or how did it all end for you in
Well,
that?
I'm actually the one that had to pull the plug on my being in the band, because I had issues going on. My family issues were happening that were not so good, and made it hard for me to get out and tour behind that. Um, and I had to bow out. Basically, is what
Oh,
happened. I mean,
really?
yeah, I had to bow out. And at the same time I was bowing out, the replacements were just kind of doing the weekend festival things at first, and it seemed like, well, I'll figure out everything else once I figure out these issues, these family issues, and then I'll do these replacement things, and I'll just go on from there. But the problem that I had was I couldn't. Um, the courts weren't going to let me basically leave my kid to go on the road with guns, and I had to just kind of figure out what to do with that because it was everything I tried to do, they weren't going to go for whatever reason. So, it happened, and all things said. Um, I think that worked out really great for Axel and the rest of them because they're having a great time out there, and it seems like his life has gotten infinitely better since the day I left. But I'll just leave that leave that low hanging fruit for anyone who wants to tackle that one.
You s you spent some time in Soul Asylum, and, how was that experience for you, playing with another Minneapolis band?
You know, it came at a point when it was a sad thing to hear about Carl dying and how he went down and everything, and I went to school with Dave. I was in ninth grade when he was a senior at West High School and hung around with him. Knew those guys, so it was like, well, yeah, I'll come do some shows with you, of course. I mean, it was like, I couldn't turn it down for just because we're buds, and this is like your fucking home turf stuff. It's kind of like there are certain things in life that people ask of you that you just don't even bother to contemplate. Oh yeah, of course I'll do it. It's like without question, um, and that was what that was pretty much.
So over the past few years too, you've been doing these, correct me if I'm wrong, it's campfire tour songs that you've been doing with your partner
Yeah,
there, and recording some music and doing stuff like that. What's that been like for you?
it's been fun for me because Chip Roberts is my second daughter, my youngest daughter's uncle, and we became fast friends when we met. And we have a interesting thing together. And Cowboys and Campfires, a dear love that it's not an everyday thing because we both have our own lives going on and other things. But when we do get together and play, we have a really good time doing it. And it makes for another angle for me because I don't. Seems the older I get, the less I want to be doing any one thing. I feel like I like bouncing around a bit, and I feel like it suits me. I think when I was a youngin, they put me on Ritalin, to try and focus me because I was just fucking like you know a gnat in the headlights, and and I think as I'm gotten older, that's come back a little bit. Where I like doing a little bit of this, like going over there. I like playing with these people. I like hanging out with these people. I like producing a little bit. I like getting out and playing, and I'm a bit of a social butterfly. So all these things that I do and kind of get myself involved in are just kind of par for the course. Although I think I've come to a point where I need to kind of give myself a little downtime. Get a little
Yeah.
bit crazy. Yeah, I get a little bit too much out here. A little too much
Yeah.
movement.
Well, as I've mentioned when we started talking, I follow you all the time on Facebook and or follow you on all the social media things where you post the shows you're doing. I was thrilled to see that you're coming to Springfield, Missouri, that you're going to play a show here. I know there's a lot of several people I've spoken to are absolutely thrilled that you're coming here. One guy, there's a couple of people broke down in tears
No. Wow.
that that you're going to be here and play a kind of an intimate venue to see you in. And I've just read some really interesting things. Like I think one of the nicest things I read was Peter Jesperson wrote a nice little piece about a show you did out in California, and he's
Yeah.
talking about how much love there was in the room and how many people really appreciate you and what you do. And we're thrilled that you're going to bring it to our little part of the woods. So just be
Yeah. And the band that I'm coming with is gonna blow your mind. They're so fun. And I produced them. I fell in love with their music the moment I heard them, and then I got to hang out with them and play with them a little bit, and they're just the best people. going out there. I love them, so it'll be a lot of fun.
I want to touch on this a little bit too, and you can stop me at any point if you want to. That I've read that you've been sober now for, is it 3 years?
4 years plus,
4 years.
plus. Yeah.
How's that changed your life, and what got you to go there?
Well, my friends kind of, got a hold of Chip, in fact, and had been talking about, yeah, seems like it might be a good idea, good time for him to stop drinking right around now. Things were just, it was right after COVID. Now I'm not alone in this. I kind of went off the deep end on COVID, and
Yeah,
kind of put a major damper on everything we all did, especially if you're used to playing shows and being a musician and all that kind of thing. Um, and so, I was like, really? Everyone thinks I should do that? Wow. And they didn't do an intervention or anything like that. I just said, well, give me a week and I'll do it. And they had it. I had sponsorship for it, and went and got sober.
wow. Is
Yeah,
it a positive thing for you?
totally positive thing. For what it's worth, I
It's
started.
like a silly question.
Yeah, no. For what it's worth, I tried to do it on my own before I had gone out to tour with the Lemonheads, and that didn't work out so well for me because it was such a disastrous run. Uh, a lot of just what the fuck am I doing here kind of going on, but I got myself, that was a pretty good build up to me needing to quit, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I haven't looked back. I haven't like I sit at the bar and eat all the time, and still kind of hang out at the bar. To be frank with you, I just don't even feel I haven't even felt like the urge to like, well, maybe just one little whiskey before I'm like, I haven't even had that, which is really lucky for me. A lot of people don't get that, and that's not to say I'll never get that again. I'm not going to go down that road and pretend I know what the fuck, but um, you know, I haven't thought about it today, and I haven't felt like having a drink in fucking over 4 years. So all that's great as long as I got it going on today where I don't feel like having a drink today.
well, that's awesome, man. Do you think it's helped you musically at all to
Yeah,
be sober?
yeah, yeah. It's made me get more introspective and try and be better at some things that I was just eking along in pretty much every aspect of my life. It got me to kind of go, well, wait, I can do this better. I can do this better. I can, uh, hold on now. I can, I don't need to go fucking drown my sorrows to figure out how to get over this moment, whatever. I figured out a lot of things like that.
That's awesome. That's really
Yeah.
awesome. And you mentioned earlier, you touched on this a little bit earlier, that part of your life is that you have your daughter, you have custody of one of your daughters, and that I imagine that helps with kind of keeping you on an even keel most of the time.
We have the whole family of peoples that I was kind of referring to. We've all flipped our switch and are doing really great. And she's about to go off to Temple University next month, which is massively huge. But we've all done good and we figured it out. And I think David Bowie kind of put it very succinctly about life in general. And it's just that like the older we get, the better we get at being who we're supposed to be. You know what I mean? It's like we get better at being what we are and what we're supposed to be. And it sounds simple enough, but kind of is the deal. You go for me. I've been blessed with like learning how to play an instrument and learning to be a musician and doing all these things and learning how to write music and do this art form that some people admire and wish to be able to do and can. I feel like I've been able to do that for a long time and grateful for it. And lucky fucking me, to be frank. And I think that it's something. It's beats many of the alternatives that I had on my plate to look at before I you know started playing bass.
I saw a meme the other day just after it was announced that you were coming to Springfield, and it was a guy, and he was crying. He goes, "I just feel so fortunate that I live in a time where I can listen to The Replacements anytime that I want to, and they're right here." And I just thought that was hysterical, and I do know a lot of people like that, that feel that way not only about The Replacements, but about your music and what you've done, over the years, just that they it's like I said earlier, it's when you even though I mean, I don't know you, I would if I showed up at your house, you'd like, "Get the fuck out of here." But I feel like I have this connection with you even though I don't know you. I mean, we're just talking, and
Yeah.
but I feel that connection through your music, and I think that n not many people do that. Not many people get that. Um,
And
and I
it's a unique thing that we have as musicians with our fan base, and that's, it's a great thing. It's a very tangible life thing that, like you said earlier, like, it helps people, it helps people want to get through their day and all that kind of crap. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, well, I'll speak for all us replacements and Tommy Stinson fans that we're glad you're here. We really
Well,
are because,
thank
yeah, I'm sorry I'm gushing over you, but I always say to my son, the Replacements are my favorite band. Anytime that something comes on, or I make them listen, and it's funny over the years trying to explain to people what it is about it that I love, and for some people they just look at me and they don't seem to understand.
yeah,
And I think, "Okay, well, he's not one of the lucky ones. They're not one of the lucky ones, they don't get it, so it's okay. It's alright. I can't make them get that. It's alright. It's fine." I I
exactly.
I feel like I'm a missionary almost.
Yeah. Well, it's lucky that we're all able to, you know, pull from that. I mean, look, I'm lucky to have fans like yourself or whatever, but I'm also lucky that I've been able to do this for my whole life, pretty much at this point.
Yeah, not everybody gets to do that. That's one thing. I started out doing these, interviews with people about 3 or 4 months ago, and I just wanted to reach out to people that I their music meant something to me. And so, and I wanted to try to see if what they were doing today, and how they were, what life was like after a band, or after everything just went away. And you're one of the few that I've talked to that actually still really you make your living doing this. Most of them do something else. I talked to a guy yesterday that's a realtor. I talked to a lot of people that work in the computer business, and it's been interesting to learn about that, because I kind of have that connection with them too. So, but
Yeah.
I wanted to say thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hang on just a second, Tommy.